When it comes to horror games, I always keep hearing from people say things like, "Oh man, that jump scare really got me," or "That screamer was really scary, Lamau." To me, that's pretty fucking annoying and stupid. What makes a horror game truly stand out is if they're genuinely scary. Atmosphere plays a huge role in these games. They make you feel as if you're in a situation where you can't get out, you're out of bullets and desperately trying to find more. You can hear distant sounds and so on. All of this makes you even more anxious and paranoid to move on. The 90s was the golden era for horror games. They managed to be different from one another while keeping the horror aspect to them, like Silent Hill, Dino Crisis, Clock Tower, and Parasite Eve. These games have very good sense of horror, with the source material of these developers making these games truly horrific. Games like these are the reason why I appreciate horror games as a genre, and how much love the developers put into them. Then, there were a group of people who were interested in these games, wanting more, until things changed in the early 2000s. There have been a few attempts to bring back the magic of that era, but these often missed out on what made them so great. Now, we're kinda in this generation where some indie devs have to depend on cheap jump scares and consider that horror. Five Nights at Freddy's, Slender, Mendy and the Ink Machine, and Spooky's House of Jump Scares. But FNAF takes the cake. Let's be real here. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of indie horror games that capture the essence of those sad games from the old days, such as Home, September 1999, Doki Doki Literature Club, Yumi Nikki, and etc. So overall, I say they eventually succeeded, but recapturing that old magic has been a rocky process. So what if I said that Capcom, a company that is trying to redeem themselves from their dark days of the infamous Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, cancelling Mega Man Legends 3 for the 3DS, constant DLCs, the controversial DMC reboot, and lastly making Resident Evil 5 and 6 more action-oriented, made a good modern horror game, a remake of sorts. And not only a remake, but a remake that finally has everything I said before? Well, I am happy to announce that I have played Resident Evil 2, the remake, and it's everything I hope it would be and more. The game has a great start. The game starts off in the gas station, letting you control your character and getting the feel of the game before you go to the police station where the game truly starts. Exploring through the ruins of the building ridden with zombies. Familiarizing yourself in each area of the game allows you to have a keen sense of direction each time you visit the same room or corridor. Plus, with the rotting zombie corpses and the other threats that get in your way, it makes it harder for you to maneuver around them, which is possible but incredibly dangerous at the same time, forcing you to strategize your next move. Backtracking is very important. I know people criticize this mechanic as a negative aspect to video games, but Resident Evil 2 made it a lot fun for me. How this game does it, if you don't have a certain key item to progress a puzzle, you would have to go back to a room to find it, but here's the kicker. There are zombies in the way and you don't have enough bullets to shoot them. Do you have to dodge them in order to save ammo? Or make your life a lot easier by shooting them despite your bullet sponge traits of these zombies? It really makes you think before you plan your next move. Speaking of puzzles, you get that satisfying feel whenever you figure out a cryptic yet simple puzzle with the help of notes you get while you traverse in this hellhole of a city. Item management is really good when it comes to the Resident Evil series, and this game does it right. While you can upgrade your inventory space, it still feels limited on how many items you can bring with you. Hard decisions are presented, such as if you should keep a green herb or gunpowder, or run back to your chest and carefully sort your items out. It's one of those interesting mechanics that I have ever experienced from a video game. It's way better than the item management in Resident Evil 4. Okay, please, I know that was a shitty opinion, but god damn it, it's so brief yet so complicated, and it fits well for a horror game. And don't forget Mr. X, this behemoth of a tank, the big boy himself. This fucker is determined to hunt you down. In no circumstance will he fail to find you. What makes this game so frightening at times. The tension and suspense build up when you hear those footsteps stomping around the station as you try to hide away from him. And just when you think he's gone, he's still there waiting to take you down. I really like how they made Mr. X in this game. He reminds me of the Scissor Man from Clock Tower. When you encounter him, that dreadful music plays and you try to run for your life. Ever since the first encounter, Mr. X is a nightmare. Not only is Mr. X scary, but every environment you're in makes you feel isolated. Your only company are the zombies. You know how I said that jump scares are fucking dumb? It really depends on how you really use them in a game. Resident Evil 2 doesn't really focus on them too much, but the game manages to surprise you with a zombie attack or a goddamn licker jumping right at you with their horrific shrieking sound, and they got me shooked. It's really unpredictable sometimes. The way jump scares are used throughout the game adds to the experience by ramping up the tension in the room, instead of being a crutch used for cheap thrills. The sound design. God damn, the sound design is really good because you're in a situation where something can get you. The sounds from the zombies and the rain coming from outside of the station or the sewage ambience from the underground sewers makes this game stand out and feel more polished and immersive. As for the music, the modern music was okay and I only remembered 2 tracks, but the soundtrack from the original is what makes the atmosphere in this game truly horrifying and haunting. My favorite track is the safe room theme. The sense of being relaxed in one room while knowing that you're screwed anyways sends chills down my spine. Resident Evil 2 is a game that stays challenging and fresh, even after multiple playthroughs. Even when you play for the 4th time, since you know how everything works and where each key item is placed, you can speedrun this game and finish in under 2 hours. I have a few gripes with this game, however. I really wish they would have worked more on the dialogue, considering the original had a lot more dialogue than the remake. For example, multiple scenes where you see Leon and Claire talking to each other numerous times.
Leon, we really gotta stop meeting like this.
Are you alright? Police chopper, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Leon!
It's good to see you're still among the living. Claire, you made it!
Yeah. Have you seen a little girl around here?
Yeah, you just missed her.
The scenarios feel like a missed opportunity as well as they are not different from each other at all and pretty much play the same way. The DLC feels tacked on as well. It's just basic stuff that should have been part of the game anyways, such as alternate costumes and the original soundtrack. It's dirt cheap though, so it's not a deal breaker. If you're new to the series, or if you played the original game, I highly recommend Resident Evil 2 the remake. It's really easy to get into and the survival horror elements in this game are top notch. This game proves how survival horror can make a comeback, even after all these years, and I'm hoping to see more games like this one in the future, so go play this game. Fuck FNAF, don't fucking play that game. Play Resi 2, it's a good ass game.